And I remember him asking, like, if I wanted one. I was like, no, I'm not in pain. But I literally, it's like the things, I can't remember the first time I used certain things, but I remember when the actual, like, the mental obsession started, because I remember being like, no, I'm not in pain. But then 5 minutes later, I'm in a porta potty at a kid's softball game snorting pills.
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Millie Graham. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you know me. Joined, as always, by the H. John Benjamin of Harleys, the gearhead with the heart of gold, the voice actor of Archer, and like a million Bob's Burgers. Like he's voiced any animated thing. He's the voice actor.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, Jerry's here.
Yeah. Glad to be here.
And today,
Anyway, you should like and subscribe if you dig what we do.
Mental Defectives podcast on all your social media, because that's where we is. Mental Defectives podcast. Because today we have a very special guest. She is a sober mother who has cleaned up her life as easily as she can clean up your home. She don't mess with Hondas, Yamahas, or Suzukis. It's Kawasaki's only. Please welcome Misti.
Hi.
Misti, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I almost clapped when you introduced me naturally, but...
Oh, hell yeah.
I was like, no, don't do that. Put your hands down.
Misti, where are you from?
Groveport.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, from the valley.
Nice.
And when was the first drink?
I didn't get a late start. I started stealing drugs and alcohol from my dad and the neighbors when I was younger, but I didn't actually... I think I was maybe 16 or 17. I know I had my first drunk at 19 that wound me up in the hospital. Woke up from a blackout and walked home. So like an hour walk home from that. My first drunk.
Run me back that story. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You were stealing?
I would steal the alcohol, the drugs, the cigarettes.
But not do them?
No, it's done for my friends. Like already that behavior, that attention of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. I would steal drugs and alcohol. Like I remember stealing my dad's alcohol.
Yeah.
If my neighbor sees this, I'm sorry. I remember going in their basement window and stealing their weed for my friend.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. My dad was in addiction his whole life, and I didn't want to be like that. But I still so I was afraid to use or drink or anything like that. But that attention still, that negative attention, to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the first drunk is at 19?
Yeah, I remember at 19. I think I got in a fight with the boyfriend at the time, something like that. And all I remember from that is waking up. No, not waking up. Being at a payphone at Kroger's on Refugee. No, I'm just making stuff up. I'm so nervous. Reynoldsburg. I just remember being at a Kroger parking lot and asking for help, finding a payphone, and then waking up in the hospital. I remember my mom being there and saying I had to use the restroom and putting my socks and shoes on, and then like flashes, like I walked home. So I walked from Mount Carmel East Hospital to Nabixby Refugee.
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
What, do you have like alcohol poisoning or?
I have no idea. I woke up and then just flashes of a blackout walking home.
Damn,
like I just escaped.
That's a rough ass first.
That's tough.
That's why everyone's like, "Do you know when your first drink of this?" And I'm like, "No, I know my first drunk."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that scared me enough. Like I didn't start my, actual like active addiction and anything like that till I was 20. I want to say 22 or 23, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old. I got in a relationship young, got married. I was like a Navy wife. He was overseas. And real long story short, I found out he had a mistress. And so I did what girls my age did, what we saw in the movies. You get cheated on, you go out and you drink. I went out and drank with my sister and a bunch of her friends. And then that's what my life turned into. I like to call it a woo girl. It's a girl like falling off the bar stool.
Oh,
like,
woo girl. Oh,
So, yeah.
fucking woo girl.
Yeah, so that's what I referred to it as. In the movies, that's what you see. Like somebody gets cheated on, a breakup, they go out and get drunk. I had fun, and I was like, oh, I have freedom. Like, I can do what I want to do, and that's what it became. So it was like that, Friday going out on Saturday, but then, like, Thursday's ladies' night, and Tuesday's karaoke.
Yeah.
And like we do when you're, like, in addiction and alcoholism, it doesn't matter. Like, then it was because somebody died or because of a job loss. Like, I could always find a reason. So yeah, that's what it started turning into. And at the time I was a preschool teacher. And
Nice.
Slowly, quickly, I don't know, going out all the time, and then it was coming in late to work, leaving work early, going on break and not coming back. And I just did the alcohol thing for a long time and weed, and I just thought like that was age appropriate at the time. Like I was going out drinking. I didn't see any of this stuff until like I was into recovery, like actually sober, like cutting friends off, borrowing money, making up reasons that I needed money, bills not being paid. Like it escalated really quickly, and I don't think I even saw it how fast it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in time, at that time, like the guy that I was married to, like that was the only person I was with. I was like a good girl. I was a preschool teacher. I was a Navy wife. Like, and then like I had this freedom to do what I want to do when I wanted to do it, and I don't know. That's just what it became. Eventually, I stopped working at the daycare, and I had like these short-term relationships, codependent relationships. You know, like using relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain's like froze just now. I don't know. I felt like at that point I had an identity, that preschool teacher and Navy wife. And then I wasn't a Navy wife anymore, but I was still a preschool teacher. And then I didn't have that. And I was like, I don't know who I am. There's not a title.
It just
like,
rocks your whole like
Right.
identity is wrapped up in these
Yeah.
external things. and
Yeah,
then
like
it's
if you ask me about myself, like, oh, tell me about yourself, and I'm like, oh, I'm Misti, I'm a teacher, and I'm a Navy wife, and like it made me feel important. Then it felt like somebody, and so then it was like working these little odd jobs and stuff like that just to have some kind of income. And I don't know, I just felt very lost without that identity. Like even if things were horrible, to be able to say that felt like something,
Right.
felt
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't. At some point in time in one of these little relationships, I remember, I don't know what I was in the hospital for, but I was put on pain medication. I took them as needed. And I remember being at a kid's, with one of these boyfriends. I was at a kid's softball game, and the guy I was seeing at the time, he was on pain pills. And I remember him asking, like, if I wanted one. I was like, no, I'm not in pain. But I literally,
Yeah.
it's like the things, I can't remember the first time I used certain things, but I remember when the actual, like, the mental obsession started, because I remember being like, no, I'm not in pain. But then 5 minutes later, I'm in a porta potty at a kid's softball game snorting pills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember the details of that. And I remember
Yep.
literally being like, at the moment, like sitting there, breaking up pills, and like in a porta, like
Yeah.
in my head, telling myself, like, you have a problem.
This is
like,
fucked.
soon, like as it was like, I still couldn't stop though. Like, I'm like you're a drug addict, but it's official. You made it.
Only because
new
it's in
title.
Only because it's in the porta potty.
Right.
I'm trying to think if I
and
ever
at
did
a
that.
kid's get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
And it's the first time you're doing it. It's not like
not the first. Well, no, I was doing the pills, but the first
First
time
time you
doing it like for fun or you know.
Yeah.
like a
Recreational,
recreationally.
yeah.
So like yeah, and then just everything else just progressed, and I thought it was better than for a long time. I said at some point I remember I went to treatment. I did like detox, and I did
This is like family shoving you in or
no
job. Oh,
like first world problem kind of things, like, oh, I can't stay with this boyfriend now, or I can't work at this restaurant. But I remember going to treatment and, just everything. I wasn't having a relationship with my family. It was a lot of things, but mostly like those first world problems. And I remember going, though, doing detox, doing like a 30-day program, and I got a sponsor. I was doing like all the things you're supposed to do and taking advice. I was like reading literature and stuff. And I remember, it's really weird, like as I'm saying this out loud, because I've done like leads and I've talked about my story and did some similar things before, but a lot of like those little things, like I already said, like the pinpoints of when like things progressed or got worse, like I can psychologically remember a lot of that, probably part of the OCD. But I remember being at a meeting and hitting call, like to call an ex that I was going to use with, and I would hang up before it rang, and I kept doing that. And I don't think I used until the next day. But at that time, it's like I did all the things like people suggest you do. And But instead of like calling somebody for help or talking about it, which is like the biggest thing for me now, like where I'm at in my recovery now, is like I say I'm like nauseatingly honest. Like word vomit. Like when you're sick and you keep trying not to throw up and you feel like crap and you feel like shit, and then you finally throw up and you're like, oh my God, I feel better. Like getting it out of you. So I try to word vomit. I'm very overly honest. But yeah, I just remember not calling a sponsor person, not calling help, not talking to anybody what was going on, just like playing with all these ideas and circles in my head. End up going back and using at some point in time in that, I don't know if it was a year or 3 months, I have no idea with the time gap, but I did treatment again. I was in there for like a day or two and left, and then went back out and went to treatment again at some point. And the last time was different though, because the first time I went, I was scared. I didn't have experience with people in recovery. I didn't have experience with treatment centers. I didn't know what, like I've seen meetings online, I've seen stuff in movies and scenes and like what to kind of expect. I went as a child with my dad, but I didn't really know anything about all the like the details inside because I haven't been. So the first time I went, I remember going in scared. So I was like the model student, like I got it and took meds. I, talked to counselors and with the nurses. I did what I was supposed to do. I was scared. I was timid. And when I went back the last time, I went in thinking I knew everything. I knew what to do. I knew what to say. I knew what to say, what you want to hear and how I should act.
Yep.
And they had 10 rules you can't break. I only didn't break 2 because it involved minors, like exchanging drug and alcohol and tobacco with minors and something else that was like that. But it was a lockdown facility, so they weren't anywhere near me. So I'm sure I would have tried to sell drugs to kids. I don't know. Who knows? I probably would have. But when I went in there that time, it's like I brought the old me in with me kind of thing. And hi. And am I allowed to pet the dog?
You may. Brownie's joining us again for the second episode. Are you going to go sit down or what, girl? Come on.
She's like, it's my turn.
I got her.
It's cute. So when I went in, though, like I thought I knew what to do or like how to run the show. Broke all the rules. And eventually they got sick of me. They kicked me out. They kicked my little detox boyfriend out.
The detox boyfriend.
That's my. I have a type.
Rehab romance.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some real love in there. Okay.
Oh, I'm with it. I've been there.
So yeah, we both ended up getting kicked out, and I took everybody with me but 3 people from the treatment center. I took everybody. I cleared the treatment center out.
You cleared it out.
Yeah. One of the people that stayed is actually one of my best friends, Amber. And another one, Josh, he's from the house. I don't know if you can say that on here. He's from HOH.
Yeah.
Okay, he's from House of Hope, too.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just breaking everyone's anonymity. The 2 people that did stay and didn't leave, they're still sober. I'm not sure about the other person. But yeah, I took all these people with me. And at that time, drugs were, it was drugs and alcohol. It was weed and pain pills and barbiturates and I was a pharmaceutical junkie. I thought I was better then. And at that time, I never touched crack. I never touched heroin. I was scared of heroin or whatever. It's like when fentanyl started being everything now. But I never touched crack, to my knowledge at least, because I always said I didn't want to be like my dad. My dad was, he was a crack addict. He was a crackhead. And growing up, I went to meetings with him. I visited him in treatment centers. I visited him in jail. Actually, literally, like, part of my whole sleeve is for him over here. And my story is like a jumble of things. I'll just go, he can fix this. But that's like an addict thing to say. I can fix it.
Right.
You can fix it. It's fine. So the treatment center I went to as like a patient, a client. I did like what most people do. They want to work at the treatment center that they went to. So eventually, in my recovery, they had contacted me and asked me to do like a little interview thing for them, and I did. And then my timeline's like blurry in my head. It's probably like a thing about being an addict, like you mess up times. So I ended up getting to be in like advertising for this treatment center. I ended up getting to work there, but my dad was also found unresponsive there.
Oh shit.
He died later in the hospital, but yeah, he overdosed at the treatment center. So it was like they saved my life. They used my story, to share that, and I got to work there. But then my dad also lost his life there. So it was like a very. It's like an alcoholic relationship. It's very messy.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
very
no
like,
shit.
bittersweet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm grateful for all of that. I mean, they tried, and he's one of those people. Like, I want to see his record. Like, how many times was he freaking here? But like, and even growing up, going to meetings with him there.
The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new EP, More is Always Better. 6 electrifying tracks available on all streaming platforms.
Do you think that planted the seed for you?
Absolutely.
Because it's like, that's why I asked earlier, like,
Right.
oh, is it family shoving you? It's
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
like a work or like the court system or like a family member shoving someone into treatment for the first time, but you like took the initiative to go in yourself.
Yeah. I knew where help was. It's like a lot of people, I feel like, especially I feel like in my circle, like we take our kids with us to the meetings sometimes, I have a 2-year-old, so she's crazy. So sometimes I don't take her because she's like, but yeah, like I feel like it's normalized now. Like a lot of meetings do have babysitting. I do get a sitter on occasion for meetings so I can like have that direct attention, especially if like I'm having a day or there's like some real serious stuff going on where I'm like, I need to talk. I just need to focus on this. I need outside of myself. But it's like, that's a really nice thing about recovery now. It's normalized to bring your kids. So then they do know where to go for help. And that was for me, like planted way back then. Plus I liked it. I'm like cookies, coffee. I didn't want to hold people's hands. Like some did that. I didn't like that part, but it gave me hope for him then. So then like I knew where to go for hope, I guess. Yeah.
And then what was like the catalyst that led you into treatment each one of these times? Like, is it, it's like, is your back against the wall? Is it like a boyfriend threatening,
Right.
To go in, or is it just like, I've had enough? Like,
The last time I went into treatment, like where I got kicked out, well, I guess that's not the last time I went into treatment, but that was the last detox. When I went that time, I remember being upset about some petty stuff with that boyfriend at the time. And I've always dealt with like mental health issues. I self-harmed. I cut when I was younger, obviously drugs and alcohol. In sobriety, I still suffer with anxiety and OCD and ADHD. And I manage everything without medications, thankfully. Like use a program and I talk a lot. But I remember being in like some little really unimportant argument thing with him. And at the time I remember being like, he had a basket he kept like his waist belts in. And I remember seeing the basket and looking at it and being like, I could tie all those belts together and hang myself from the tree in the backyard and he'd find me. Like, fuck him. And then that was like
And
my
that'll
like
show
psychotic thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But then I was sitting there, I was like, I don't even want to die. I was like, I don't
Right.
even want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. She's like, I'm a therapy dog. Come here. She's like, I heard what you said. Let me help. But like, I remember having that irrational thought and then being like, I don't even want to die anymore. Like, I don't want to live like this. And I don't know if it was that next day or when, but very soon after, I remember going.
and did that like coincide with like was that like a rise, like an increase in like your use or in drinking to that point that like led you there, or?
No, it was actually when I went into treatment. So like, yeah, at that time it was like I did like the pill thing, weed, alcohol. But when I went into treatment, everyone else was doing heroin and crack. And so I got kicked out, took everyone with me.
What was the speech to get everyone to leave with you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a really cool person, obviously.
I mean-
like, I could lead a cult, clearly.
That's fantastic.
Like, that's like
I'm sure that
hurting-
was like a mutiny type shit.
Yeah, I feel
like,
so bad. I don't know. I mean, it's a bunch of drug addicts. You're like, hey,
Right.
we're all going to get
Let's
drugs.
go.
That was
Okay, that's
easy.
actually
Probably
pretty. That's a
all-
pretty easy sell. Never mind. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Easy
probably. I don't
argument,
know. I still feel so bad. I don't know. Yeah, so all these people came with me. I still feel so bad. I probably owe more amends. I feel like I gotta write some letters.
If
But
Misti owes you an amends, drop a comment.
should I plug my business name now? 10% discount. That's like a great
Oh,
amends.
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I have no idea how I got people to go with me. I should look into that. But they did. But the night I got kicked out, I used heroin for the first time and shot it for the first time. And then the next day, I used crack for the first time. I smoked it. I didn't like it. And I bought a bunch. And somebody was like, you can shoot it. And I was like, okay.
Oh, the crack?
Yeah. No idea. So that entertained me because we used Kool-Aid to break it up. And I shot it up. And I was like so fascinated. I was like, I taste grape. And everyone was like laughing. And I was like, no, like I swear to God, I can taste it. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, it's my first, like, I was very entertained by that. But yeah, so then at
You think
the
if
time,
it was fruit punch, you wouldn't have been as into it?
I was just fascinated you could taste it because I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
I'd never
yeah.
shot up. But so like, yeah, I got kicked out, used heroin and used intravenously for the first time, the next day crack. And then that's what I did for 28 days. And what I did in 28 days is what most happens to most people in years. When I got kicked out, I took all those people to my childhood home where my dad was living.
Oh,
And
shit.
yeah, I remember being outside on the curb out front of the treatment center and calling my dad like, hey, and he's like, I thought you were in treatment. I'm like, I am. I left. I got kicked out. And he's like, where are you going to go? I was like, I'm coming there. And he's like, okay. And I remember being like, and I'm bringing like 6 people with me. He's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then he's like, well, how are you getting here? And we figured it out. So when I got there, I hadn't been there in a long time. There was like almost no furniture. There was a room we called the pink room, and it looked like Dolly Parton threw up. That's how I describe it. The walls were pink, the flowers were. God bless my grandma. She decorated it. There was a lot going on in that room. But this was like our childhood home, and the room like that me and my sisters would sleep in and play in when we were there. Didn't have a door. Sometimes I had a curtain, and it would be used if you had drugs, you were prostituting, had money, you could use that room. But there was like nothing in the house. We had a washer and dryer at the time, but eventually when the washer and dryer got sold, or actually, sorry, rewind that. There was a washer and dryer in the house. And if we didn't have toilet paper, we would cut up towels and wash them. But then the washer and dryer got sold, so then we had to start buying toilet paper again. I just always remember that, like being like, geez. Everybody had food stamps, but obviously there was never food. And that literally only lasted 28 days, though. Well, the using lasted 28 days because I'm stubborn. Before I got kicked out of that treatment center, I was supposed to go to long-term treatment, a year program. And when I got kicked out, then my brain was like, oh, you should call them. Like, my brain was like, oh, no, you have to use, when that obviously wasn't the case. But I didn't think about that. So in that 28 days, I don't have any, like, serious charges. I never have. And I thought I was cool because I'd be like, people would be like, I have 10 felonies. And I'd be like, real criminals don't get caught. And they're like, you, like, shoplift. Like, you don't,
right.
you're not hardcore.
No.
And I thought, like, I don't know what I thought. But I ended up getting a petty theft. And you would have thought I was looking like 50 years. I was, like, terrified. It was, like, a small mayor's court. And so at some point, that little boyfriend that got kicked out with me,
Did all 6 of these people stay?
That's where I'm getting. I'm getting there too.
Okay.
Promise. That's why I was
All
like,
right.
where was I? So like in that 28-day period, we got caught shoplifting. We were using the few people that were there were in and out some, and then there was like drug addict using behavior. So it's like not sharing and stealing from each other, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like people slowly started fading out or coming back. But me and the little boyfriend at the time, we got caught stealing or whatever. He went to jail right away because he had felonies, and I'm looking at like a petty theft charge. But I think like some serious shit. Like I'm terrified. I'm like, should I get a lawyer? Like I was terrified.
Yeah.
The fine would be less than the retainer for the lawyer.
I didn't know I wasn't a real criminal.
Right.
So I'm like terrified. I go home, and I'm still using, and the court date's coming up in like a week or so or something like that. And I remember sitting using, and I listened to like the same 2 songs on repeat.
What songs?
And Going Through Changes with Eminem and Ozzy, and Hate Me Blue October. Duh. But I remember like just sitting there listening to these same 2 songs, and all I can picture is like, I was using my grandpa's room at the time. That's what my room was. But like blood splatter everywhere. There was like a TV dinner tray table, and there's like bloody spoons and needles, and it was just like it looked like a movie, like a horrific scene. And I remember, I don't know if I sat for 4 hours, 12 hours, but I'm just listening to these same songs on repeat and using. And I remember hearing people talk when they're like, oh, I had a God moment and like I broke down and I asked for help. And I'm like, that's not what happens. Like you run out of money, your parents kick you out, another boyfriend kicks you out. Like, I don't know what the wording is, but like those kind of things happen. Like the first world little problems. Like there's like you have nowhere to go. That's why you're going to treatment or you're done. And I'm like stuck in that using little cycle that night. And I remember just like stopping and I was crying. And I remember literally falling to my knees. And I know I asked God for help. I don't know what my wording was. I'm sure there was like other stuff. But I was just like, I'm done. And that was May 4th, 2015. And that next day when I woke up, I had like a book with like, and paper that had like meetings and phone numbers and like people to call for help. And there was like an afternoon meeting near where I was at. And I went and there's like these 2 or 3 older guys, like God bless them, they had to be like between 50 and 80 years old. Like it was like noon, like a Tuesday or something weird. I need to see what day of the week it was on my phone. But I went to that meeting and like talked to them and like they didn't even hold it like formally how they would. They just let me just talk, you know. And one of them gave me a ride home because before I went, when I woke up, it just something was different already. Like I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that was a spiritual experience at the time. I just was like, okay, what do I need to do? I walked across the street to the neighbor, gave her my life story, and asked for bus fare money. And she gave it to me. So I took the bus that meeting. But some guy there was nice, gave me a ride home, nothing weird. And I was like, cool, because I was like, oh, this is going to be weird. Like, he was super cool. And when I was still in that treatment center before I got kicked out, I was looking into going to that year program. And I remember like going to that meeting and like trying to figure out in my head like what am I gonna do? And that thought process never crossed my mind like call that treatment center.
Yeah.
But it did somehow. And that like first day I was out, so I called the treatment center. I kept calling. I called for like 3 or 4 days. Nobody would answer my calls. Nobody would call me back. And I'm like, so I got a ride up to the treatment center a few days later, and I remember asking to speak to this lady, Miss Carol, and she also worked at that treatment center and the like the detox and short-term treatment center. And so she comes out and I'm like, hey, I've been calling. This is what happened, you know, da, 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 da. And I was like, I keep leaving voicemails. Nobody's calling me back. And she's like, I know. And in my head, I'm like, who do you think you are? Like, I came up here. She's like, I know. And I was like, okay. Well, like, I was trying to see if I could still get in. Like, I have like 2 days, I think I had at the time or something. And then she was like, yeah, I was waiting for you to do something to show me that you're serious. And I was like, well, I'm here. She was like, exactly. She was like, go drug test. I was like, well, I'm going to fail probably. And she was like, that's fine. Come drug test every day. Start coming every single day. And I did that. I went there for 30 days. And on the 30th day, I remember her calling me and be like, we have your place ready. You know, when can you move in? And I'm ignorant. And she's like, when can you move in? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like maybe a week or 2. She was like, no, like,
I mean, look, what time today can you move in?
Right. Yeah, that's was my response. I was like, maybe like a week or 2. And she's like, that was not a real question. Like, you come today or tomorrow, or you know, somebody that's actually wanting it. And I was like, okay. And then I freaked out because that's changed. It was scary.
Yeah. It's what you've been actively pursuing for a month, but then
and
when
then you get it,
and then you're
right.
like,
oh, I don't know about all that.
I may have commitment issues. Oops. So yeah, I did it though. It was a year program. I did it. I got
here in Ohio or okay.
Yeah. Do you want the name?
No.
Okay, fine. I don't want to give it to you. It's Amethyst.
So
Yeah.
So at that time, were you using both heroin and crack and all of that, like prior to
before
calling?
I went in? Yeah.
And so you detoxed yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like done. That's what, like, I still don't know how.
Yeah.
I was done.
Yeah,
I was
that's
just done.
wild to go a full month of just like
of hardcore using and then nothing.
I went to meetings. I talked.
Yeah.
That was my new drug. I literally just started talking. Just started like being a girl. I was like, who wants to hear it? Everybody's like, shh. But then I had to do the opposite part and start listening more because I had that seed planted, obviously. Like, it works. But yeah, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
That I detoxed on my own there. But that was what was crazy because that 28 days, I could have called my mother. She would have let me stay with her. My sisters. I stayed at my dad's house still.
Yeah.
While everybody's using. It's like, as soon as you get clean, obviously there's all kinds of free drugs and available.
You could have whenever you wanted.
Every time that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I stayed in that house for that whole time. Well, the 30 days till I got into the treatment center. So like, I stopped using. I used for 28 days, just stopped, started going to meetings and like.
Still living in the drug house.
I started making like friends and getting rides to meetings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stayed in that. It was in the valley. It was like my childhood home,
Yep.
like a nice little suburb neighborhood. It was a freaking trap house. And I stayed there though with everybody still using. Like I was done.
Yeah. Wild.
Why?
I said wild.
Oh, I thought you said
no,
why.
no.
I said because I'm stupid.
Yeah,
and
no.
I don't have like an actual answer.
No, wild.
Yeah. So I did that long-term program. And at the time it was a year. I stayed roughly around like 11 months because around that 11-month time, actually I completed out of the program around 11 months and I moved out around a year. At that time there was like everything that I, like a list like they have you make when you go, like what do you want to achieve your first year? What do you achieve while you're here? I did everything and more off of that. And I didn't want to hold that housing up from somebody else because that's all I thought I needed. I had like outside counseling set up, which was really important to me. I had built relationships with my family, friends. I had like great sober support, and I didn't want to take the housing from somebody else.
The Minnesota Defectives podcast is brought to you by Ride Sober, an online community for sober bikers.
At RideXSober on social media and RideXSober.com.
Check them out today for apparel like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, riding gloves, and garage banners.
Ride sober, boldly sober.
Boldly sober.
So I started like try to talk to them. I started transitioning out. So I didn't graduate, but I completed that program successfully.
Yeah.
And then I kept doing all those things. Like I started from day one. Like I had a sponsor, I had sober support, I did work the steps. I can't talk. I continued doing those, like the things I got to keep doing every single day, like staying connected. A few years into actually it was like the first year into my recovery. It was like slowly, a few months after I left that program, like I got into a relationship. I did what a lot of people do in recovery, got like real codependent, and I worked a program, but I worked like a different one for a while, and then I switched other programs just because I like the one that I switched to and do now. I liked a lot better. It just worked for me. It just felt like a God presence, and I don't know. It just felt right. But I ended up getting married, and he had a daughter that I met when she was 4, and now she's 13, and I actually got full custody of her this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's crazy. She's like 13, so like that's all I feel like I have to say.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she's
Yeah,
a great
that covers
kid.
it.
Yeah, so like I became a mom. And then I actually had a planned pregnancy too during that time, and I have a 2-year-old now. So like I went from like no kids to 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, this one's here. Like I planned this one. I was like, I'm gonna keep this one too. So I was like, I have like 2 kids now. It's fun though. They're both good kids. And I worked in the recovery field like a few years into my sobriety. I worked in the recovery for a while, and I loved it. But then I had like this planned pregnancy, so I was like, I'm gonna do this stay-at-home mom thing. And then unfortunately my ex now, at the time, he was really struggling with his sobriety and stuff like that. I thought your hand was on his thigh just now, and I was like, I'm not judging.
Whoa, hand check.
No.
I'm off camera giving Brownie like the shut up, like trying to give her that look. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you see me like angrily staring, I'm not pointing at Chris.
He's trying to feel me up.
He's threatening me.
I'm gonna do the rest of the rest
Yeah,
of the podcast
hand
like
check.
this.
Your
Bud.
foot like blocked his wrist, so it literally looked like you were rubbing his thigh. And I was like, I don't care. It's 2020. I almost said 4. It's 2025. And I was just like, this is really
This is a
awkward.
little
Like,
weird.
how do I
Typically, that
focus?
is how we do the podcast.
It is.
Tonight is the exception for that one.
Try to keep
Okay,
it straight,
okay. So
bud.
you get out of this literally. So you
Wow. Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. Anyway.
okay, back on track. So you get out of this year-long program.
Yes.
And then what's that period of early sobriety like once you're out of like the safety net bubble of living in treatment?
I feel like it was the safe version of finding myself outside. Like when I started drinking and like actively using, and I was like, this is the new me. Like you said, that's safe, that bubble. And it was. At the center that I was at, you did have a lot of freedom. You had your own apartment. You could go outside, like, meetings and social events and things like that. But there was that restricting, like, time.
Yeah.
Having certain people over. So coming outside of that bubble, I got a job, which was really cool. It was actually at a gas station, third shift by myself.
Oh, shit.
But what was amazing, and I love her, this woman named Ebony at the time was my boss, and she gave me a job there and trusted me before my addiction, and when I picked up, I let her know because I was like, I will rob you blind. Like I still have plans in my head. Like if I, if I was there by myself, you know how many cigarettes I would have and stuff. But I remember going to her and being like, hey, I relapsed, I can't work here because I would, and she was like she appreciated it, she like the respect and stuff, and she's like, you ever want your job back, call me. So when I was transitioning out of that program, I got a hold of her. So I literally worked there the first, I think I worked there for like a year or two maybe of my sobriety. And that was another big thing. Like, I don't know who I thought I was, but I thought I was better than when I was using, and I would never take the bus. I think I did to like the fireworks once or twice as a kid with my dad. In my first 3 years of sobriety, I didn't have my own car. I took the bus. And I, to that, my first meeting. So, like, I really had to humble myself. And I hear, like, a lot of people saying stuff like that. Well, I can't because I don't have a car or this, or I don't want to ask for help. And I'm like, I wanted things different so freaking bad. I was, like they say, like, I hear people say, like, be willing to do anything. I did not want to take the bus, but just get some headphones now. You can, your phone, and ignore people. Even your phone's dead. You can just pretend. But, yeah, so she gave me my job back right away. I did that for a while. And then I actually had like an opportunity to work in treatment centers. So I did that for a while, and that was really cool and rewarding. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then when does the cleaning company come into play?
So when I was still married, I had a planned pregnancy and planned to be a stay-at-home mom. And I actually had a friend. So I had the planned pregnancy. I was going to, my plans. So I had a planned pregnancy and was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And at the time, my ex-husband was struggling really bad and with his sobriety. And I was trying to figure out what to do. I had like a lot of family and friends and other people in recovery that knew my story, knew my situation, were really trying to help me, whether it was financially, with food, just help with my kids, like trying to figure stuff out. And when my daughter was maybe around like 2 months, if that, I had someone else in recovery that cleans for a living, and she was like, hey, if you want to help me, I need some help. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I did it with her a few times, and somebody heard that I was doing it with her and hit me up, and it literally went from like 1 or 2 people to now I have 2 people that work for me. I work Monday through Friday. Like I have this. So yeah, it literally turned into just somebody helping me out so I could make some money to try to take care of myself, to it's all I do now.
Hell yeah.
I go my own actual company now. It's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It blew up. This was not my plan. Yeah. But it's cool because I was able to get custody of Emily, which was my stepdaughter, and so she's my daughter now, full time. I was like, I'll keep it. You're stuck with me, I tell her. And my 2-year-old, my Ava, so I was like, I'm in my own house. I just got a new car. I get to help other people in recovery that work for me. I have 2 friends that work for me. It's weird. Like, I still do recovery meetings. I still have a sponsor. I have almost 10 years. I'm pretty sure I can relapse at 10 because I'm either normal, like I'm fixed, right?
That's when you're cured.
Once you get double-digit years, you're allowed to dip your toe back in. That's what I.
You guys looked very scared. I said that you were both like, no.
It's in the way in the back of the book. It's in the appendix. That's
right.
That's not in there. Don't do that.
It is. But yeah, I like saying that. Like, I'm almost fixed. Like, I can drink normally. Or I want to relapse because the newcomer is the most important person.
You want to be important.
Again. I still am. I'm funny.
You got the good chair here, and you're on the world famous Mental Defectives podcast.
Exactly.
It don't get more important than that.
And they gave me vodka.
She's blowing up the spot, dude.
My God.
I should have drank it and spit it out and be like, that's vodka. It's a free lapse. I did not know. And just keep drinking. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so in like the because I think maybe by the time this comes out, you will be at 10 years.
I'll have 10 in May 4th. My sobriety is the Star Wars Day.
Oh,
May the
there
4th
you
be
go.
with you.
That's what I tell my sponsees.
That's awesome.
I'm sure they never get sick of that.
I don't say it all the time. I'm not like calling it. I'm going to now. I'm going to call every sponsee tonight. And
Call
be
them
like,
2 a.m. May the 4th be with you. Click.
that's all I'm going to do.
Hell yeah.
On your way home tonight, all of them.
I will. That's my goal. I'll relapse if I don't. I'm going to forget too. And I'll be like, oh my God, tomorrow. Sorry.
What's some like struggles or challenges you've had in sobriety over this like 10 years?
Realizing what I'm powerless over, and that's usually other people.
Ooh.
The biggest things that drive me crazy are the things I cannot control, literally. Other people, other people's addiction, death. Even when people are in sobriety and recovery and like trying to change, just like, I don't know, like when not being able to control. I just can't. I have a control issues. Clearly, I'm a woman, so it's not my fault. But not being able to control things. I have like really high functioning anxiety and ADHD, and like I mentioned, like with self-harm, there's people that are close to me that are struggling with that right now, and trying to help them navigate it. Like I haven't had any like active self-harm things. I think since the first year I was sober.
Was that something like you sought like outside help for, or that was just something that like through getting sober just kind of faded off?
I think getting sober, but I did talk about it. I did counseling for a long time. I actually stopped doing it for a while because she was just like, I felt like I graduated. I was like, so I think I'm fixed too. But no, my counselor, she was like, you actively use the tools that you've got here, and yep, you actively use the tools that you learned through recovery and through counseling. Like, my biggest one, like I said, like the word vomiting, talking. I was like, what are the other tools I use? I'm just making stuff up. We're learning how to or use the tool of responding versus reacting. So like, there's something going on with my daughter. So instead of just like yelling at her, like calm down for a minute and then talk to her about it or something, you know, you don't smack somebody right away because you're mad. Like, I don't know, using tools though like that. I have no idea what the hell your question was.
I don't either, but you got me thinking about the reacting versus
responding versus reacting.
I know my brain it's like a tongue twister. I couldn't get it out. But yeah, responding versus reacting. So like in the moment, instead of just like yelling right now, like whether you're a child or an adult, yelling at you about something, okay, then talking about it. Or even if it's in the moment, there's a situation with my 13-year-old last night, and I'm annoying. I'm a huge analogy person though, but I was trying to talk to her about a very serious
situation.
Yeah, that thing. A very serious
one of those deals.
Situation. And I tried to like put the pressure on my wording, like enunciate them, but I told her, you know, there's less repercussions for anybody in any situation if you're honest to begin with. Like there still might be punishment, but your honesty is going to get you far in life. And I'd rather the ugly truth than a beautiful lie, which is one of my favorite sayings. And I told her, you know, if you are truthful with me, there's less repercussions. And I said, you know, I'm going to ask you this question, yes or no answer. And, you know, we'll go from there. And if you're truthful, because I already knew what was going on, if you're truthful, then we'll talk about it later. She answered the question. And it wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was what I thought the answer would be. And then I was able to say, okay, ask a few questions. Love you, good night, go to bed. So like for me in that situation, even when she did tell the truth about something, naturally I want to yell and ask 100 questions, but I made that promise, if you tell the truth, less repercussions, we'll leave it at that. And I did that, and that was very hard to do. I'm trying to think. I don't know, there's something else with that.
So what's life like today? You got the two kids, 2 and 13. That's a big,
like the worst ages. God bless them both. The worst ages. For real. One's like learning like how to backtalk, and the other one, that's all they do.
Yeah.
Like kind of screwed. It's a beautiful thing. They're both beautiful, crazy, good girls. I'm really scared. The 2-year-old's a miniature version of me. She's insane. I love her to death. I love them both. So what's life like now? It's awesome. I went through like an actual month of craziness. Like I went from I hit a semi.
Oh shit!
You heard it right. Somebody didn't I hit a semi.
Okay.
On the freeway or on the?
It was like a country road. I don't know what happened. I don't. Everyone asked me questions. I don't know. I hit it. I was sober, I think. I don't know what I did. I was distracted. I had a gym mat blocking my rear view. I don't know what happened, but anyway. I went through like a crazy month of stuff, and my sponsor, I remember her being like, it's life on life terms. I'm like, this is not life on life's terms. Like, it was like actual insanity, like to the point where like something would happen and I would just laugh and people would just be like I was like one of the Stephen King movies. I was like, did I do a Ouija board, or like I'm cursed by a stone? Like I really had a really, really bad month. And it was not a reason to drink or use. And I tell people all the time, especially like the things I've been through in my recovery, none of it was a reason to drink, never was a reason to use. And people joke and they're like, you literally lost your excuse.
Hey, Mental Defectives.
Would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
So we can help you make a lot of money.
A whole lot of money. Yeah.
Like, you've had every excuse
Oh, yeah.
to drink or use. And I'm like, shit, you're right. Whatever. But my life is good. Like, some of the stuff is life on life terms, but even when it's not, when it's like just everything that happened to me in a month was completely out of my control. There was nothing I could do about any of the stuff. So I just literally had to like, okay, what can I do about this? And when I can't, I would have to keep telling myself, okay, either put a crazy note in your calendar, set it aside, call someone else to talk about it, go to meetings and talk about it. Like, I kept doing these tools, and every day I kept waiting for it to be like something to change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was like a God lesson. It was a God lesson. There was so much out of my control. And that's all I've dealt with for the last 3 years. I feel like a lot of things that were happening out of my control. I'm assuming there was something I was trying to control recently, because I don't know, I'm just going in a circle about control, but I don't know. In my recovery and my life in general now, that's probably my biggest struggle. It's just everything comes back to me for stuff I can't control or whatever, because I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some way I can fix or manipulate or make things work how I think they should or something. I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going with this.
Misty, what advice would you have for someone wanting to start a cleaning company?
Oh, God, don't do it. No. Try it. Try to utilize like your friends and family first. See how you feel about it. Ask for honest feedback. My biggest thing, like if I clean for any companies or any people new, I tell them like I'm human. I'm capable of error. So if like I do something you don't like, or I focus on something and you're more focused about something else, like let me know. I think it's like communication with anything. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
But try it. YOLO. See if you like it.
And are you guys residential or commercial or both?
Mainly residential. We do a few businesses. I don't do like big commercial accounts though. Not yet.
And then how do we, if someone watching or listening wants to hire you to clean their home or their business, how do they get a hold of you for that?
They can contact me on our Facebook page. It's Nooks and Crannies Cleaning and Organizing.
Nooks and Crannies Cleaning and Organizing. Hell
Perfect.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody newly in recovery or just getting sober?
Do the things you don't want to do. Get uncomfortable. If you're comfortable when you're new, I mean, that's probably a good thing. That's nice. But I would say try things that other people say they've tried and that worked for them. That getting uncomfortable. Get honest.
Mm-hmm.
Talk. Share.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Pray.
Eat, pray, love.
Yeah, eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I think we're about ready to wrap up. Anything else you would like to tell the people out there?
Like and subscribe.
That's
yeah.
fucking right.
Hell yeah.
I know that's right. It's the Mental Defectives podcast. It's Milligram, Jerry with a G. Misty's here. Nooks and Crannies.
Cleaning and organizing.
Nooks and Crannies. Cleaning and organizing. Get your fucking life organized.
Yeah, get your
already.
shit together.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time.
That's funny.